Right, here we go, pointing and raking out. So we're going to rake this out to point at the lime mortar. So first of all, tools. This is a 4-inch grinder, Makita grinder. I've taken the guard off, I've taken the handle off because it's easier to manoeuvre and to get your joints and your perps just to shift it around. And I'm wearing a mask, so, and a dust mask and with a visor, so I don't get any. I just need to watch my fingers basically. So I don't recommend using a guard unless you actually know what you're doing with a grinder, basically, or you cut your fingers off. Anyway, right. So this had been pointed probably 30, 40 years ago, I would say. It was pretty healthy, to be honest, but it was coming away, so we just needed to nip it out. You can see as I'm cutting this out here, it's coming out pretty easily, and I basically just go the full depth of the blade. I would actually recommend a wee handheld battery Makita grinder. I've got one of those as well, but this one's just a bit more powerful, and I was raking out quite a lot, so I needed a bit of battery life. But the Makita battery grinders get you a good, like, I don't know, like half an hour probably of cutting it. So, and you can never really get the full lot out with the grinder. I mean, just need to de-nail this full thing. They're pain in the arse. There's just been nails just stuck in this left, right and centre. The building is 130 odd year old, I think. I can't remember. So it's had some amount of bunting and shit stuck to the building for a long time. So all that needs to come out as well. And this is just a handheld pick. They're really good. They're good to use, and if you look, this is usually the state of what's in these buildings. There's not really that much in it. I've not actually rewatched these since I made them, so I'm just kind of going I'm just going with the flow as I watch the video with you. So if anything gets cut short in the as I'm speaking about it, just ask me in the comments, and I'm pretty sure I'll get back to you. I quite like speaking to people in the comments. I like to see if you've got your own sort of project on the go and stuff. So yeah, keep me updated. Let me know how you're using these videos and what if they're helpful to you. I've done a video on mixing lime by hand. If you look on my channel, you'll find another video, so I'm not going to go over this too much, but I'll give some pointers as we watch through the video. This stuff is basically plasticizer. This is called USD. I do not know what it stands for. What I do know is it is a sort of water retainer, I believe. It's a plasticizer of sorts, and I promise you, if you add this to your lime, you'll potentially, well, I don't ever have any problems with it. I feel like it helps, it stops it going off a bit, and it helps retain the water so that it doesn't crack and dry out and go off too quick. Mixing by hand. You need to get all this mixed through dry first. With lime it's different from cement. Always make sure your lime and sand are mixed through. You make sure you've got a complete it's supposed to be mixed evenly all the way through. You just tell by eye, but to be honest, if you can get it almost close, add water into it, and that'll just sort of bind the whole thing and bring it together, and you'll get more of a mix. Now, you don't want to be adding too much water all at once, or you'll fuck your mix. So just wee bits in at a time, and then see when you're mixing, if you're getting a sore wrist or a sore shoulder, get two hands in behind the trowel and just fucking pull it, just pull. Like, my plan on this originally had just been to watch over it and just commentate on it as it came, like I keep saying. So I'm going to try and sort of go over like how I point, techniques and that. I'm sorry about the shit camera angles and all that, but this is quite an early video. So right, if you put your trowel up to the wall and just basically push your gear in.
You might be in a porno
If you're right-handed, you want to point sort of like right to left, and if you're left-handed, you want to point left to right. Some people do their ups and downs, which are called perps. Perpendiculars is a right angle, up and down, they're perps. Some people do their perps first. I just point anyway, pretty much. If I'm doing brickwork, I do my beds first and then I do my perps. I don't know if it really matters. But here anyway, certainly, you want to point, so you want to like point in a wee bit, establish a bit of your pointing, and then point into your mix so that you're actually pointing backwards into your mix every time. And the reason being is if you didn't do that, if you didn't pack it properly and pack it in, you end up with tiny holes, and then like if you were to go, like if you were right-handed and you would go left to right, every time you refill that pointing key and you put gear into the wall, like mortar into the wall, when you go to brush your pointing, you'll tamp it back, so you'll beat it back with a brush, and then what happens is you end up with a dip in your pointing. That bit dries at a different rate, it dries uneven, and then you know you've made a cunt of it. Then you've got to go back over it, and then it all dries uneven, and you've made an absolute mess, and then you can't go back to it for the start. So, and then you want to scoop up a bit of gear just thin enough so that it actually fits into these gaps, and then that way you then just get the side of your pointing key and pack it right in. It needs to be packed in because it needs to be solid, otherwise it's not going to dry properly. Point into your existing mix or your existing piece of pointing. So if you're right-handed, point right to left. If you're left-handed, point left to right. Otherwise you'll end up with divots in the pointing and your pointing will look shite. This ratio of sand is 5 building sand, so no sharp sand in this because we have thin joints, we have less than 10mm joints. 5 building sand, 2 NHL 5 lime, Otterbein, and a bit of USD. That is what the mix is. So I'll say that again. 5 building sand, 2 Otterbein, natural hydraulic lime 5, NHL 5. It's a strong mix because these stones are whinstone, which is a metamorphic rock, I believe, and it's similar to slate. So actually, when a lot of these buildings that you're looking at in the north of England, if you go to the Lake District, if you're in the Scottish borders, I don't know if, I actually think there might be sort of some whinstone over it in America. This stuff's sort of like slate, it's really thin. So these actual larger stones that you see in front of you, the bigger, higher ones, those ones are probably really thin. They're probably only like, I don't know, maybe 50 to maybe 60mm thick. The other ones, the other bonder ones, the longer ones, they'll probably be further into the wall, but these ones are, honestly, there's nothing in behind them, and you'd be worried about walking under some of these buildings if you knew what was in them. Just pack it in. Make sure your joints and your beds are absolutely full. If you need to turn your pointing key to the side, push it as hard and as far in as it goes. Get enough on your pointing key so that you can get a big long piece of mortar straight into that joint and then just point over the top of it. Give it a nice key. It's going to get brushed, so you want to get it as close as you can. This is a bit of a nippy part because if you do this when it's too wet, you're going to end up with like lime smears all the way up and down the building. It looks absolutely shite, and you'll not get away with it because you'll just get to tell it's rubbish. Just do it again, or either that, if it does get past, people are going to be slagging it for the bus and the train. Just remember, people see your work, so don't leave it bad. At least make it presentable. There's no excuse for bad work. So now if I scrape all these snotters off, when I then come to brush it, it just leaves a slightly better finish. I'm not going to be finishing it quite the way I would be normally be pointing because it's a different mix. I'm not going to be leaving it as sort of rough finished. It's kind of like a neater finish than what I would be normally doing. Back grinding again. This is just another. This is what you do. If somebody tells you they want to be a stonemason, fucking show them this. It's shit. There's some people out there that get loads of good jobs all the time, but it's few and far between. If you want to be a stonemason and you're watching this and you think, oh, I want to be a stonemason, because I like art, and just remember that the vast majority of stonemasonry is just fucking shit hard work. So it's no fucking all arty farty carving and doing all this shit. It's lifting heavy stones, it's getting fucking dust in your lungs, it's hurting your cell, it's cutting your cell. So just don't do it. Anyway, right, I've left it sort of, I think this has been probably like, if I remember right, probably 3 hours. It's had a bit of sun on it. And so I've taken a nice natural bristle brush and I've brushed the full, so I've brushed the point in first and then I've brushed it over the whole face of the stone. It's unavoidable that you're going to get some staining on the stone, so you just have to kind of keep it at a minimum. And I try to keep the dry dust on the stone before, so that when I'm pointing it doesn't stain the face of the stone. But like I said, if you're going to wash a stone, I've said this in a previous video, if you're going to wash a stone with a sponge or with a brush, you wash the full face of the stone, otherwise you'll get streak marks along the face of your stone, just along your beds and your joints, and it looks shite. Fucking hell, this is a long video. I don't know, this video it's got like 4,000 views, I think. The original video, I don't know, because it's fucking dragging. So I'm just going to fast forward it to the end, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope there's a wee bit of pointers that you've had with pointing, excuse the pun. If there's anything else you need to know in the comments, hit me up in the comments, please. And if this has been useful to you, be useful to me, and hit that like and subscribe button, please. That would be fantastic. It helps other people find this content, and it helps other people save their buildings and stop them being shite. And I would rather tell you guys, the people that are willing to actually learn, willing to watch a video like this and take this on board, because you get some fucking Luddite tradesman saying, oh, don't be telling everybody the trade secrets because they'll just go and try it and they'll just make a mess. But I would rather show you guys, if it's helpful and you didn't make a mess and you do it properly on your own property, or if you're just having a bash at it, if you're a tradesman and you think you can have a shot, if you're a brickie, fucking go ahead. There's nothing saying that you can't have a shot yourself. Just try and educate yourself and leave a good fucking job. Bye bye.